I said,
All right,
yeah.
so now I can do it. I'm recording.
Okay, good. Okay. So good evening, everyone. And we will start immediately with our public session. And the first speaker I have in the list is Laura Hossie, representing RIVA here. Good evening, Laura. Unmute yourself.
Yes.
You are muted, Laura.
Am I still muted?
No, now we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I just want to say, first of all, I'm really happy that this meeting is being called. I think it's very necessary. I read today what Erin had written. I think it's.
We can hear you, Laura.
You can't hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now?
Now better, yes. Now.
Okay. I was saying that I read Erin's statement.
The Public Safety Committee, the Public Purpose Fund Committee statement.
Okay.
Yes.
But it came from your email,
Right.
So
Yes.
that's the one I'm referring to. And I just wanted to say I found it very, it seems to cover all the points. I found it very appropriate. I think that it's very important for all of us to get together in order to make.
Problem with your audio, Laura. You come in and
No,
no.
it's coming in and out as if a wire or something else, or when you move in and out, there's like a short or something, and then.
Yeah, it's telling me what to do and I'm doing it.
You're fine now.
You are fine now. We can hear you, but we cannot see you anymore, but we can hear you. Now you're muted, Laura.
Try now, Laura.
How is it now?
Yeah.
Is that okay? You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I think it's very important that all of the island organizations get together. What's happening in terms of all the organizations should benefit from what funds they have.
Laura, I cannot hear you, unfortunately.
Yeah,
You can't hear me?
sometimes it's in and out.
I don't really know what's wrong with this.
Probably try to come.
Hold it. Now it sounded fine.
Okay.
Laura, try to come close to the microphone of the computer.
Yeah, I am close to it.
Now we can hear you. Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Right. I was saying, I think it's very important that all organizations are trying to work together to get your trust administration changed, because obviously the small organizations on the island are just as important as the large ones. RIVA is very upset with what's going on. We find it's extremely unfair. Certainly for ourselves, we don't like the 30% rule. You know, it's a little, we do qualify for some of the other things that some of the smaller organizations don't. I don't really feel that that makes a difference, because, you know, every organization that has applied for public purpose funds all these years and been granted public purpose funds are serving an extremely important function in the community. They're working for years. They're working with a limited budget. And the idea is to help organizations function and stay alive. And, you know, it seems like this was really not put out. And I know Rosanna put this to the attention of John O'Reilly and Shelton Ames before, but it doesn't seem like they really have responded appropriately. So I just want to say that whatever is decided here, RIVA certainly is behind it, and we will back anything that you decide to do in order to get changes necessary made. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. We did not understand 100% of what you said, but I think we all understood the majority of it. Does anyone have any questions for Laura?
Rosanna, I'd just like to let Laura know that Shelton and John O'Reilly were sent the letter today, and I believe that our president will have a follow-up. So they got the letter first last night, and then I sent it out so they would have time to digest it, and hopefully we would have good news today.
This is Frank. I just want to Laura, if you can just listen, I hope you hear me. So I have Laura Hussey saying it's very important that organizations get together to get the something changed. It's extremely unfair. We don't like the 30% rule. Every organization granted in the past was doing important work for the community. It seems that this was not put out something. We, RIVA, are behind this and will do whatever is necessary to support changes. Did I get that about right, Laura? Okay, good. She's saying yes.
Okay, thank you, Frank. So the next speaker on the list is China, who I don't see. So I would like to see if she sent me a message. So we skip China, we go to Wendy Hirsch, the president of RIRA. Good evening, Wendy.
Hello. So really preparing. I mean, I did read your letter and I agree with most of it. The 30% really to me is absurd. My thing is the one project. I mean, our mission statement is to help people with disabilities live a better quality of life. And when I did call them, the trust, I was told that's not a project. I needed to come up with one project. So if I pick the pantry, then I'm negating what RIRA does for the community as far as the disabled. If I do that, then I have to let the pantry go. So I'm trying to work through it the best that I can. I don't know. I think that giving us a month to do this, I mean, I was away when I got this. And so when I got back, I had like 3 weeks. So I'm really trying to get through it. And it's difficult. I'm assuming that it's difficult for everybody. And because we're one of the smaller organizations here, you know, we don't get money from anywhere but RIOC. RIOC is my whole budget. So, you know, we no longer get any state or city funds. So it is a challenge. It's a challenge. And especially to do it in 4 weeks.
Agree.
Unrealistic.
Any comments on Wendy's statement? I see none. So
I captured it all.
That's our secretary. That's why Frank is
So
for the
we
minutes.
have Andrea Jackson with RISA. Good evening, Andrea.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I just want to add to that. I mean, I concur. I saw your information and I do concur. I concur with what Wendy has to say. To me, my thoughts are that
Oh,
Lost her.
we lost Andrea.
We should move on. We'll come when she comes back in.
Yes, thank you. We have now Judy Birdie. Good evening, Judy.
Good evening. We're working through the application and I really will add my comment, even though I haven't read your letter, that I don't know what community trust was sold, but they were sold that we're an island or a place that just keeps doing new projects every year. And it's not fair because we're not doing new projects, we're trying to stay in business. And I really feel that we're working around this, but I really feel that the whole description of our organizations was not clearly mandated. And I fully understand the frustration of many of our groups who live by the public purpose funding, and limiting it to a third of your budget for many of these is just absurd. And since so few now apply for discretionary funds from the city, which we still do, it's really putting our organizations in a very bad place. And I fully understand and sympathize with all the problems everyone else is having. Any comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I think when you get a chance to see the letter, we've kind of addressed that as well as a number of the short turnaround, the additional board member, the money, all of the issues are bullet pointed on this letter so that, most people, they're just changes that was never expected. And the amount of time given for any organization, it's just too short to expect somebody to present something competently. And it's not what we've done with public purpose funds, which we pay into,
My only other question is, who is going to be evaluating these?
Yeah,
The mystery panel.
right.
Could I make a suggestion to Rosanna and Aaron? I know you have the letter in front of you, but I would suggest that we do not read the letter now, so it doesn't, I don't want to say color, but it doesn't,
No.
make any suggestions. We'll hear what the organizations present, and then maybe afterwards you want to read those, bullet points, so at least they hear for those who haven't heard. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Agree. I see Andrea. Andrea, you are back. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm sorry, there's a reception problem here as well. Thank you so much for everyone's patience. I do agree and concur with the issues that everyone has raised. I think that it was, not a disservice for RIOC not advising us that this would not be a lateral move. I think we were all under the impression that they were outsourcing this piece of business to handle the public purpose funds in the manner in which it's been processed in the past. So it was nothing to allude to the fact that there would be changes. Even in the meetings that we had, none of that information came up. So I would be interested to see what the outcome would be.
Thank you, Andrea. I see Nikki. Nikki, good evening. Would you like to add something, Nikki? For
I'm going to be completely honest. I haven't even looked at it yet, and so I really can't comment. But I will definitely take a look at it.
Thank you, Nikki. Sheena is running late, so we had the China Bushell in the list and the Christy Towie as a supporter, but Christy just told me that she's driving, and so she should be connecting from her phone, and so I suggested she doesn't since she's driving. But she is supporting all the organizations. She wants me to say that she is supporting with the MST and DA, all our local organizations here on the island.
So Rosanna, this is due on the 14th, right?
Yes, this is due on the 14th, but I have to share with all of you what President Haynes just communicated to me about 30 minutes ago, okay? So President Haynes and I have spoken extensively about the concerns noted, and is meeting tomorrow morning with his team and understand that his teams and NYCT, and he understands that any transition has its challenges, obviously. He asked that everyone be patient and allowing New York Community Trust to address all issues. The goal is to ensure the grant process evolves and can help grantees ultimately grow. Period, and close quotes. These are the words of President Haynes with RIOC. He asked me to share our exchange of thoughts. And this is what I did. Any further comments?
Did Mr. Haynes read our letter? In discussion,
yes,
he did. So those were the points discussed, and he's brought that to his team.
is we'll have a meeting tomorrow morning with this team.
Thank you.
And
Good news.
New York Community Trust.
Right. That's good news.
Yes, it seems
Okay.
news. Let's not jinx it.
Right, right. No, that's that he did it the next day. He understands how imperative it is and what a short time frame it is, because this cannot be the expectation. It's not fair. It's not possible. It's not what it has been for so many years. He knows that. I think he must have been blindsided by this. I don't know where these people dreamed it up, but that's what we said in that first letter when we mentioned, you don't know Roosevelt Island. You don't know what our nonprofits do here. You know, you don't know that at one point we didn't use it as seed money, remember? But that long ago became not really what was needed by the nonprofits here. You know, there's sustenance, you know, they sustain this community and they need help doing it. And that's how it's always been. You can't just change that, like, and not tell anyone and expect it to happen in 3 weeks. Shelton, you know, once he found that out, I'm sure he thought that was crazy.
But I mean, I think community trust, they do like organizations like Robin Hood,
Yeah,
Catholic Charity, you know, bigger organizations at 30%
yeah.
is fine to cover one project. But what I did when I did call Julia Chang, she did tell me, I know nothing about your organization. She said, you know, could you tell me a little bit about it? So I had to, thank God I had my presentation on my computer from last year. And I sort of like read it, you know, without reading it, you know, to let her know. But that's still not knowing my organization.
Of course.
So,
Right.
Of course.
Exactly.
And you can't judge it if you don't know it. And the other thing is, if you haven't lived through the impact and the need for it as a community member, you can't know it. Honestly, you just can't know it. You can say, well, it's, you know, they help the disabled. Yes, that's very important. But when you live it and you see it, you know it. And the needs, the way you guys responded for the pain, you know, the way that the organizations, honestly, all of them responded during this pandemic, it's what made Roosevelt Island the safest city and run as smoothly as it has, except of course you guys can't get out there and fix the pavement on the promenade or pave the streets, you know, but as far as giving us the heart, you guys gave us the heart to survive through that pandemic. And these people don't know that. They don't know your importance.
I just want to add something. You know, when you enter into a contractual agreement, it's very imperative to go through the processes of what that agreement entails. So I thought that there was some review of this agreement to parallel it to what currently exists. Now, if that took place, I would think that some questions should have, light bulbs should have gone off to say, oh, wait a minute, what is this 30% here? And what does that actually translate down to? So I really would be interested to see how this all pans out.
Thank you, Andrea. Rick, you had your hands up.
Yeah, that was kind of similar to my question. Do you know if RIOC legal or financial or Shelton actually reviewed and approved the eligibility criteria before it was sent out to the organizations?
Okay, I can partially answer to your questions, and if anyone else has a better answer, but the answer is that we all assume that the legal department of RIOC reviewed all the terms of New York Community Trust. Not necessarily the president of RIOC, but I cannot determine that. But I am sure that by now the president of RIOC has read those terms. I am not commenting, obviously, on the review of the legal department of RIOC, if it was done or not, because I don't have this piece of information. Frank?
Well, just one
yes.
one other quick question.
Go ahead, Rick.
Have any of the other organizations other than Wendy's Disabled Association spoken with the Community Trust about their particular issues?
The Wildlife Freedom Foundation did.
And what did they say?
The Wildlife Freedom Foundation did, and with the same officer Julia Chang.
You know, I have to say, I mean, she was I was on the phone a long time with her. She tried to help me through it. I didn't know we could do in-kind donations, that would be part of a budget. So she did give me some insight, and I did get an email from her today telling me that I don't know if anybody else got the email from her, saying that it's due in so many days. And if I have any questions or I need any help, to please give her a call or email her.
Yeah,
But-
I can say as super partes, okay, just looking at the requirements, so not as the president of the Wildlife Freedom Foundation, but just looking at the requirement objectively with the legal background, that the first requirement that doesn't ring a bell is that 4 board members are in fact listed, and that is not possible for 2 reasons. One is the New York City law for 501c3 non-for-profit requires 3 minimum board members and not 4, and 4 is an even number, and so very unlikely on a board of directors we will find in any board, you know, an even number, because obviously a problem will arise soon.
I think Frank has his hand up, Rosanna.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
I just want to make sure Rick got his full set of questions and answers. And thank you. And thank you, Rosanna. You know, Rosanna, I had a very similar impression to you when I read this. My take, you know, as someone who's participated in the Public Purpose Fund Committee and activity over since the mid-90s, I saw a bunch of things right away that said to me, how do organizations how will they comply with these requirements? I know several people have, you know, pointed out the 30%, you know, rule. I mean, there's another one like Rosanna just pointed out, you know, the minimum of 4 directors, you know, and such. And then there's also the project accounting. And then I think it was Judy who said something about that the projects had to be different every year and such. And so when you look at that, you know, and there's really about a dozen requirements that are like that. What I believe RIOC did on this is that they reviewed this from a legal perspective in the sense of, is it okay to delegate this task to another organization and to do that type of operation? I believe that's the extent of the legal review that they did. And they also had an outside counsel to help them. What they did not do is they did not do the programmatic review on this to determine, is this a program that's similar to our prior program in which we can make these funds available broadly to the important community services that all you organizations provide to the community? And had they looked at the criteria, and again, they have all the applications, they could have just looked at the past 2 or 3 years. They would have said right away, we're going to knock out, you know, at least half the organizations, you know, based on this. And so so to be precise, I'm sure they did a legal review. I don't think they did a programmatic review as in what the program goals are. And that's clearly changed, as stated by, I think Andrea sort of said that when she said, you know, we sort of expected it to be a lateral, that was the note I took, sort of a lateral move, you know, being similar, when it turns out there are in fact substantial changes to the nature of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
And maybe you want to read that your letter now.
No, I don't. I think everybody, you know, has it or it's available. We tried and you did an amazing amount of the research, Frank, actually, going through it. And Rosanna, just talking to various people who had come and expressed concern on a lot of different points. And we put it together, the committee, as quickly as possible to get it to RIOC, you know, because we thought that it needed to be addressed and it had to be expedited. And I'm glad to hear that, you know, maybe it was the first time that they looked at it programmatically. That could be a very good explanation because they're professionals. They would have checked legally, but I don't, you know, they don't want to do this. You know, I don't think Shelton would want, you know, to toss away everything that we've had. I don't think that would be his intention. I think this sort of took them by surprise, and hopefully he'll go with the letter and he will, you know, make the changes. There was nothing that we asked for that shouldn't be, really. I mean, the changes that they put in were not necessary. The way it was working was okay. If you didn't want to do the accounting, you give it to a different bookkeeper, but to have I don't understand rewriting the whole thing and then expecting people to understand it programmatically in 3 weeks. So I'm sure that Shelton will. I'm really glad to hear, Rosanna, that he contacted you and that they've read it and they've scheduled a meeting with the people. That's really good. You know, I'm really happy to hear that. Everybody.
Very happy too, and I think we all should be very happy with this message, and obviously we look forward to communicating with all of you the update after that meeting, possibly even tomorrow. So.
Yeah.
Great job, Rosanna. Great job, Aaron.
Yeah,
I
great
just
job,
want to ask
Frank and the Public Purpose Committee.
Can I just
Dave?
ask a question? So I don't know if I misunderstood this, but when I was speaking with her, it's almost like we have to hand in 4 budgets. So it was last year's whole budget, then the budget we put into RIOC for supposedly a project, and then this year, the entire budget of what we run on, and then what we're asking the money for. So there were like 4 different budgets that had to go in with this, that had to be uploaded. Did I get that right?
I wouldn't. What do you think, Rosanna? I mean, I didn't review it. Frank might. Did you see that, Frank?
Not
That sounds about right, the way Wendy described.
And
It
this is what
varies
I
from
was told.
organization to organization, but that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Ridiculous.
I mean,
We
RIOC
don't do that for the
never
state.
does
I never had to do this. That's crazy.
That's why most of the local organization will disqualify because of that.
It's ridiculous. But what's the purpose of it?
Yes.
For this,
I-
we're talking chump change. You're not talking you know, like you were saying, Robin Hood or, you know, millions of dollars anywhere. This
Right,
is
right.
this is like silly. This is not tailored for a small, you know, community.
There's several organizations that provide scholarships, for example,
Right.
that does not work from their budgeting rubric in a sense, because it puts the organization operating at a loss with respect to the money that they're giving out if you account for it the way they want you, and therefore you're
Right.
credited negatively on that. And of course, we've had lots of success with several organizations doing scholarships, you know, in various, you know, camp, artistic, you know, senior, you know, various activities.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judy. You have your hands up.
One question, why have so many island organizations dropped out of getting discretionary funds from the city council? I mean, it's a lot of work. It's even work. Wendy, I'm reading
You
your
want me
lips.
to answer that for you? Because I just.
Seriously, because I realized at one time there was 7 and 8 organizations applying, and I know I spoke to Julie Menon's staff, and they're going to put us back. I think the island organization should go in for it again.
Well, I just dropped it. I actually do have a grant, but it's for last year and this year, and I just dropped out of it because they want to get, so what's his name, Kalos? It was through him for $5,000, and the work I had, they have a whole new system online,
Yes.
you know, with Passport. It was so confusing. They weren't getting my stuff, and to go all through all that work and then have to do the RIOC grant for just $5,000, it's not worth it for $5,000.
Well,
When I think Julie Menon heard that we were only getting $5,000, it was like, what? So, I mean, if she puts, you know, does something about that and offers more, I will go back into it. But I don't know if you did the new system, but it's
Yes.
really, yeah.
We have done the new system and we're alive. It's functioning. It's a pain in the neck, but
It
once
really
you,
is.
I mean, I can't disclose the name of my grant writer because she knows how to use it. But seriously, I think that other people should approach Julie Mannon's office and say, listen, we need funding and we need to get back in the city council funding. And also please request more than $5,000 for us, because they're not giving very much money to Roosevelt Island at all. I mean,
No.
they gave us $7,500 last year instead of 10,000 that we had received before. So I
Got more
really
than
think that
me.
the island should go back and start telling her, we need the money, and put us back on the list. She can put us back in her budget.
I think that's true. I think that the more you can get from various sources, and we always did, but I also understand your point, because I've had city council grants when I was doing the pantry in Red Hook that
Right.
offered me very little, and it really was, and it was before the passport. The expectations were ridiculous that you had to do for it, even in completing it. But in this case, $5,000 is, can do something, and it's another source that's coming in. And that was always important for your applications anyway, that, there are other sources that help support each other. So,
I
always a
just
good
think
idea
that
to get it, but
Because the more of us that apply,
the more money we get.
there's more, because they only see 2 organizations. They go, well, the heck with this. I know Carter Burden gets it. And I think there's one other group aside from us. So I really think no matter how painful it is, at
Maybe
least
there
put your
could be a
name in.
class on how to do it. Or you
Yeah,
could help.
and it was coming late too. So it's supposed to go in every month, your report.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the approval until a couple of months ago for last year. So
Wow.
it's like, and now you're giving me this year, and I haven't even reported last year. So it just was too much at this point. I mean, like I said, I have it for this year. I'll see what happens.
Mhm.
But
Well,
you're right. We need a
how many
class on how to
people-
do it. They changed the system and didn't train anybody.
Right.
They
How many
changed it
people
during the
applied this
pandemic.
year?
What, Rosanna?
Yeah, actually, what I remember is that when this was at the beginning ventilated by RIOC, this change, they presented also as that someone from the New York Community Trust would train all the local organization on how to apply to other grants and how to do it.
Oh, really?
Which was it? Yes, but it obviously did not happen. But yes, Judy, I
What they're going to do is they are going to have mandatory classes to attend on grant writing and receiving other grants this summer, starting this summer. And you will have to take some of these mandatory classes.
Ridiculous.
For
I've been to them. I've been to that agency and I've taken their classes. A lot of nonprofits use them. They're fine, but actually I thought they were good, but I wouldn't say that it's knowledge that you guys don't have or need, and it certainly shouldn't be mandatory. I sort of did it. It was a way to get out of the office and get some skills and take a couple of notes. How much did I remember leaving? But
well, no, unfortunately, the
agency.
seminar, the mandatory seminar that we had, I think on February 12th, was sort of useless. She read us the thing, and then the questions and answers, which were important, were not recorded.
God.
Right,
Yeah,
because she sent me the recording because I couldn't do it. I had a different meeting going. And then I was listening for the questions and it just cut off.
We mentioned that in the letter. That's funny because we mentioned that in the letter that you can't record half of it and not the other half, because everyone has a right to learn from all of the questions and may have had the same question. That's in the letter too, Judy.
Thank you. Okay. I'll see if my grant writer will give classes on Passport. Okay.
Oh, I would love it. Please let me know.
Yeah, it would be
I know
that would
Passport,
be
I
a
just
good
don't know the
skill that
report.
they should give out.
Well,
Maybe the
they
city
had
council
something
can do it.
They had something called HHS for a few years,
Right, the accelerator.
the Accelerator, and now they changed
Accelerator.
Passport.
But we always did Passport. I've always done Passport because I had a state grant before
Right.
for a whole memorial. But to do everything on Passport is very confusing.
Well, we have a grant from Seabright, but they allotted it to the wrong agency. So we can't even, for the society, they allotted it to the Department for the Aging. So we don't have it, and the state has a whole new system similar to Passport that we're going to have to use to get a few $1,000s. On that note, I'm
you.
signing off. Good night.
Yep, night.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so in closing, I think I am going to reiterate that I will follow up with all of you about the outcome of the meeting tomorrow or the day after, depending on when I will get the update, or Erin will follow up if not.
Do
Okay.
you think, Rosanna, maybe we could invite Julie Men in here so, you know, we could learn, other agency or organizations to learn about discretionary funds?
Yes.
And see, you know, if she can give us more to make it really worth it for us to, you know.
That's I thought to have her come and do a presentation
Right.
for RIRA.
Yeah, last
She
month.
wants to be involved, I've heard.
Well, maybe RIRA can host or help sponsor men and staff coming to the island for a workshop on this.
Right.
And this
That's
way,
good.
everyone's here where all the organizations are, not having to go somewhere else in the city.
Right, that's what we're talking about, Frank.
Would be good. Yes, yes,
Good idea. Yeah, we can look into that.
we can think about it. Yeah, thank you, Wendy, for the suggestion. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay,
So are we going into, do we have our quorum?
Secretary?
We definitely do not have quorum. If everyone just stays still for a second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I only have 9. We do not have quorum.
Okay,
Many are excused.
now there's no excuse.
I know, but I have to say that. So many members are excused. Like I would like to say that Rahul has an emergency in his family with his dad, so he had that to the emergency room. So that is important. He is excused. And
Just a point of order. Let me just state who I see here, and I will record their attendance.
Good.
So even though we don't have quorum, at least, from a whatever meeting continuity, perspective, I have everyone. So I have Rosanna, myself, Erin, David, Dave,
yes,
Amy Lauren, Demora, Romana, and Mickey.
Right, and Frank.
Right, guys. Right. I was just reading the way my screen is organized. Sorry. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so then, good night, Rosanna.
night.
I mean, we don't have quorum and
Well, let me just ask, is there anything that we need to discuss? I think, first of all, Rosanna, you did a fantastic job organizing this public session, and Erin, also helping, lead this. This was really great. So I'm very happy with hearing that kind of input, because it's what RIRA needs to hear. And, clearly, we're going to take action, on that. But I'm looking at the agenda right now, and we have, I sent the minutes to the wrong email address. I'm sorry. You all have the minutes in the.
we can't take any actions on anything if we don't have quorum though, right?
Well,
So-
that's true, but we if there's something to talk about that's of urgent, which Rosanna and you just did, then that's great. But I don't see any. I'm not seeing anything else that urgent.
Exactly.
No.
That needs discussion.
Nothing else urgent.
No, but thank you, Frank. I mean, you and Rosanna sort of, and you both from speaking people, you did great job researching that, it was a good team effort. And I think it's paying off because Shelton, got the letter and, contacted Rosanna, let him know that he saw it. He was arranged a meeting. That's great. In a day, that's not getting the runaround. It means that we were effective and we'll actually be able to do something. They shouldn't have taken it away in the first place. And it blew up in their face and we had to alert them to it. We alerted them to it. Hopefully this will, it will work out. And
My hunch is that they will extend the deadline.
Definitely
Okay,
have to.
number one. Number two, someone will try to reconstruct all the questions and answers and de-identify them, okay, so that they can share that. And then they will remove all of the heinous restrictions
Yeah.
that will allow full participation. And I think if they do that, which is about 80% of what we've asked for, then they might be delayed a month or so on this, but that's still within the time frame of the organizations and what they need to do. If the money's already been assigned and already been given. So from a RIOC, remember how we always used to have to run because their fiscal year ends on March 31st?
Yes.
We don't have to worry about that because I believe the money's already been transferred and it's already been assigned to a fiscal year. So we're not worried about that, okay?
Well, the other thing we'd like to find out is whether or not they're going to let RIRA have its oversight again.
Of course.
That has not been followed up on. That was our first ask. It was never really responded to. This situation happened. You heard that we didn't from New York CT, didn't you?
I've not heard anything, from them. I've read what they said and I've listened to what, the applicants have told me, and also listened to you. There's nothing that has said anything or clarified what this community review is. And I would say, if I were an applicant, I'd really want to understand the nature of how my application is being reviewed and who am I, targeting for. If they're getting, the Fortune, 10 companies in the, in the of the Upper East Side and Astoria and Long Island City to review our work, assuming I'm an applicant, then, well, that's going to be different than, as I think as Judy had said, an organization that knows what is it that knows what they're doing, yeah, and why these why these services are essential. I think, Aaron, your point, on this was, a really critical one, which is that, you can look at this and say, oh, they're doing work for the disabled. Oh, well, that's good. And if it doesn't get done well, I guess that's not so good. Yeah, I just picked on a disabled associations. Could be seniors, could be, youth, could be, art and so on like that.
No.
History, education. They don't see the impact, of this not happening.
Community, for
Right.
sure, for sure. So, Ro, I think Miss Birdie has her hand up. Is that real?
It's real. I'm just reading New York Community Trust's website. They have their own grants, and it's very interesting. It said a list of your board of directors, including affiliations. The trust generally requires that a board should have at least 4 members. So in simple words, people pick and choose what they want on their grant application. Here, because this is a grant, I don't have the camera on, but this is their own grant application. It says should. So I really think that, and I was reading through other applications that they have pending there. Another one is 1/3 of the budget. So you pick and choose what you want from them. So I think you would have a good fight with them saying, well, change your rules or modify your rules for the Roosevelt Island. But I suggest that you go through their cover page and look at how what they put in for other organizations. So you'll have a better idea of how how they judge organizations. We'll have a more broader perspective, not just of the little, our little grant, but maybe we can apply for another New York Community Trust grant on our own.
You should. That's any kind of money you can get. But for what they're doing to RIOC, they can't really do that here out of the blue with no notification, with no training. It's just too different. It's not what we do here. So anyone, you should apply if they're going to give money and it looks like something that would.
This looks very interesting. I might
have
to read into it, but go to the homepage of the New York Community Trust and proposals for the trust ongoing competitive grants program.
We'll have to look at it. It's a good resource.
It would be wonderful if we got money from the organization when they turn us down for RIOC.
It's a good resource.
So,
we should do as many as we can.
Since I have nothing else to do in life, I poke around at grants.
Could I just tell you one?
Must love that.
one critical thing about what Judy is saying there is that it turns out if you can't meet that criteria,
Right.
their solution is to then say, we'll align with a fiscal sponsor, and that fiscal sponsor will then be, the applicant. The problem with that is that while maybe a big organization comes in that can sponsor you, their board has nothing to do with what you're working on, and they may meet the requirements, but that has nothing to do with
Yeah.
whatever benefit, board oversight would provide, for your, organization. And then it just adds, whatever, a 10%, pass-through fee or something like that. And it doesn't, we've sort of seen this in a couple public purpose fund entities in the past where they were not a 501c3, but they aligned with a 501c3. I don't want to mention
Well,
names,
okay, Frank,
but yep.
okay. This, nowhere on the instruction sheet does it say you have to be a 501c3. So read their instructions and for
For
their own
Roosevelt,
grants.
for
I'm just
Roosevelt
curious.
Island?
No,
What?
in general.
Oh,
Just
right,
go to
right.
the top of the page, the instruction page, and it says, apply for a New York Community Trust, their own grants, and read it.
Right.
It
Well,
doesn't
I'm
say
just,
anything, just read it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I think we are going to adjourn our meeting to our next session next month. Secretary?
okay, very good. I think I'm looking at the time, it's 8:57 approximately. I believe there's no motion to adjourn since we did not convene. So none is necessary. It's just, Madam President, if you feel the meeting is over, then it's your call.
The meeting is over. Thank you.
You sound tired.
That's
Great
cool.
job. Even though we didn't get quorum, we actually did good stuff tonight. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Madam President. Good job, everybody. Thanks for
Thank you.
being here, Rick. Good job.
Thank you. Good night.
Dee,
Guys,
Dave,
good job. Good job. guys.
Frank, Public
Thank
Purpose
you.
Fund, rah, rah, rah.
Good night, David.